A Muslim scholar called Mullah Omar found that a girl had been raped, and so he gathered his students at his Islamic school or madrasa, the school that he used to run, and he gathered them to wage jihad against the culprits who had raped this innocent girl. Around 50 of his students joined him, and together they killed the rapists and many other criminals and communists in that area. And after killing them, they took their weapons and ammunition from them as war booty. Within a short period of time, Mullah Omar took over most of Afghanistan from the Satanist communists, and by doing so ruined the media narrative regarding Ahmad Shah Massoud and Gulbuddin Hekmatyar. What's really interesting is that at that time, since Iran was portrayed as being very Islamic and extreme, Ahmad Shah Massoud used to pretend to oppose Iran. However, when the Zionists became desperate, they revealed their true colors. You see, what happened was that Hekmatyar fought against Mullah Omar, thinking that he could easily defeat this small group who had no support from any other governments. And this was while Hekmatyar himself was being armed and funded and supported by both America and the communists, and by pretty much all the other satanic governments, including Iran, which, as I've proven many times before, are really just one government, and presidents are just actors. So that's why all the Satanists, whether they pretend to be against each other or not, they were all helping Gulbuddin Hekmatyar. And there is evidence of the CIA helping him. There is evidence of Iran helping him. And it's interesting that Hekmatyar was originally a communist, and all of a sudden he started acting like an Islamic extremist. So there is evidence that he was an agent of the Soviet Union. There is evidence that he's an agent of Iran. And there is evidence that he's an agent of the CIA as well. You see, all the Satanists were helping Gulbuddin Hekmatyar. However, Mullah Omar defeated Hekmatyar so badly that Hekmatyar had to escape like a chicken all the way back to his masters in Iran out of desperation. That's right, the supposedly Sunni extremist Gulbuddin Hekmatyar escaped to the Shia Republic of Iran, and when the Zionists saw how badly Hekmatyar was defeated, they put all their deceptions and fake dramas aside temporarily, because defeating Mullah Omar was now their priority. And that's when all the masks came off and we saw the formation of the Northern Alliance. The supposedly anti-Shia Ahmad Shah Massoud, he joined the Shia militias that were admittedly supported by Iran, such as Hezb Wahdat. And even though the media portrayed Ahmad Shah Massoud as the biggest enemy of the communists who defeated the Russian Soviets supposedly with the help of the CIA, he all of a sudden joined the communists in order to form a very large group that became known as the Northern Alliance in America and as the Islamic Alliance in Iran. You see, in order for Iran to continue with their fake Islamic narrative, they had to come up with an excuse for why they were helping the liberal Ahmad Shah Massoud. So while America called Ahmad Shah Massoud's group the Northern Alliance, the media and government of Iran instead called this new group the Islamic Alliance, which I find to be really funny because there was absolutely nothing Islamic about these people. Remember, this was an alliance between liberals who openly supported the West and capitalism, and the communists who hate religion in general, especially Islam. Yet this completely satanic anti-Muslim alliance was called the Islamic Alliance by the government of Iran. In Farsi they call them Ittihad Islami. In fact, even the term alliance in their name was a fake, because this wasn't simply an alliance. These were groups that were always the same in the past, but they simply pretended to be different. And now that they were extremely desperate, they had to pretend to have formed a new alliance and put all their differences aside, when in reality they just put their masks aside so that they could openly cooperate together and not have their fighters, kill each other out of confusion or out of, because of their own narrative, because of their own earlier lies. But in spite of that, they failed to defeat Mullah Muhammad Omar, and they were defeated in almost every single battle, and the Taliban, or Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, conquered most of the country. They conquered most of Afghanistan and pushed Ahmad Shah Massoud all the way to the northeast of Afghanistan, near China, near communist China. And again, you can tell who was helping Ahmad Shah Massoud. Other than America and Iran and Russia, obviously China was also helping him. That's why he was pushed all the way back, all the way to the Chinese borders. Of course, soon after, America came in and helped Iran and the Northern Alliance directly, using the excuse of 9/11, despite the fact that there was no evidence that Mullah Omar or even Osama bin Laden had anything to do with the 9/11 attacks. And if you watch Simon Shack's documentary called September Clues, you'll know that 9/11 was completely staged. Although I believe that Iran was originally planned to take responsibility for 9/11, but since Osama bin Laden refused to escape to Iran and Mullah Omar protected him instead of agreeing to hand him over as America wanted him to, the original plans for 9/11 were ruined. But that's a whole different topic. But as I said, basically, the plan was that Mullah Omar would agree to hand over Osama bin Laden, and then Osama bin Laden would try to desperately escape from Afghanistan. And since Iran and Afghanistan are neighbors, the people who had infiltrated Osama's group were going to manipulate him to escape to Iran. But then later, Iran was going to say that, actually, yeah, we did 9/11. We actually did it. Iran was going to say, yes, we and our agent Osama bin Laden, we did it. We did 9/11 and we did Taqiyya. When we said we didn't do it, we were doing Taqiyya. That was the original plan. You see, that's how the Zionists were trying to completely get away with 9/11 by having Iran eventually be exposed as the real culprits, along with the Nazis. They were going to say that Iran and the Nazis and the Skull and Bones, they cooperated together. But because Osama bin Laden didn't escape to Afghanistan and Mullah Omar protected him and refused to agree to be a sellout, sellout, and because they couldn't scare him into conforming, this entire narrative was completely ruined. So anyway, now the Northern Alliance, which consisted of Shias and communists, had openly joined the American military and became what we now call the Afghan government and the Afghan National Army and Police Force. I mean, that's what they literally are. If you look at the Afghan army, the Afghan police, these people are communists, Shias, and capitalist Zionists, which makes absolutely no sense if you believe the school and media narrative. If you believe your school history books and your TV documentaries, this makes absolutely no sense. If you believe the news, this makes absolutely no sense. Why were these communists and capitalists and Zionists and Shias working together? It makes no sense. And why did they form a government together? Why did they form an army together? Why did they form a police force together? Because they became so desperate in Afghanistan. That's why there's such a heavy censorship on the news in Afghanistan, because Mullah Muhammad Omar completely ruined their narrative. And remember that Hekmatyar was living in Iran and being protected by the Shias. So now you know why the media never shows a single speech of Mullah Muhammad Omar, as he was ruining their entire narrative and completely destroying their plans.